Well, Paul, respectfully disagree.
Okay.
if I may. It's pretty obvious why we went in when we did, October the 7th, albeit it was a couple of years ago. A staunch ally, Israel, was attacked. And it's pretty obvious what we're doing there. As I've said a million times, we're degrading the Iranian regime. I admit that the way that this has been presented would certainly give rise to the points that you just made. But I don't think that it's in any way unclear now. Leaving, right, there's the third one where maybe I say disagree. That's harder to figure out, but we can just leave. And this is what Trump is good for. When he says it's over, a lot of people are just going to say, okay, it's over.
So is it over right now? We have an indefinite ceasefire that is in place until...
I don't think it's indefinite anymore. Now it's 3 to 5 days.
Well,
right?
It was indefinite this
I know.
morning.
So
that's
it was
the thing.
indefinite this morning.
He says that it will last until Iran submits a new proposal. What we know right now is that the two sides are not going to immediately return to fighting. So how do you interpret when it's over and when we resume fighting?
Well, again, it's not really binary, right? I mean, it's never really over with Iran, and it was never really on for the last 50 years. So we've sort of been, when we were not at war with Iran, we kind of were. Now that we are at war with Iran, we're kind of not. But as I've said before, we're actually giving them a taste of their own medicine. I don't expect that in the next few days we're going to come to a deal that will end this thing entirely. I mean, that would be absurd.
Yet the president keeps promising.
The president says a lot of things, right? I mean, for the last 10 years, we've been going on about how he's talking and him making promises all day long. But what I think is happening on a structural level is what I call hot deterrence. I think the United States has woken up and smelt the coffee in the 21st century and has said, okay, we have adversaries that are hitting us with cyber, they're hitting us with disinformation, misinformation. What do we have? We have hard power. We'll go and take out Maduro, and we'll show the Iranians and the Russians and the Chinese that we mean business.
So is there a next step here for Iran? If the president were to just decide to, okay, we're going to declare victory and leave, was this a good use of our time and resources over the past 2 months, do you think, longer term for U.S., I guess, foreign policy?
Yes, I'll tell you why. It's very easy to assess the cost of this war as measured in the price of energy. And if you do that and that alone, it's a bad idea. If you also think imaginatively about the counterfactual, in which the Iranians and the Russians do better in, respectively, the Israel war and the Ukraine war, then we're in a world of pain. So I think what we've done is actually fought some battles that would otherwise have been fought later. We've done it on the hop. We've done it unexpectedly. We've surprised our enemies. And that's much better than a coordinated attack from Eurasia on Taiwan, Kyiv, and Israel on the same day.
What does this mean for how the Trump administration moves forward with other hotspots around the world?
Well, they probably want to do Cuba. This is my suspicion. We've had to listen to nonsense about Greenland and Canada. I might have got that wrong. I took that very seriously. It turns out they were, in fact, going to use hard power abroad, just in not the place that we were told. Maybe that was part of some plan. But it is an emergent Trump doctrine, right? If the Obama doctrine was don't do stupid things, don't do stupid stuff, it seems like the Trump doctrine is do whatever you want. And okay, so I'm giggling because as someone who's always been a little bit more hawkish on foreign policy, finally the United States is standing up. Now, there is a cost because, of course, this is the death knell for the international order. I think that process began when we crossed over into Iraq without a second UN resolution. It intensified in 2014 and 2022 with the attacks on Ukraine. Now it's intense, and we, going into Iran the way we have, or attacking Iran, I should say, the way we have, forget international law in its current cycle. But we are indeed fighting back against people that wish us harm.
What does this mean for Ukraine? It's kind of for everybody's been pushed on the back burner. But just reading your notes today, Ukraine is killing 35,000 invaders a month. That's staggering.
That's wild.
I mean,
yeah.
How does that part of the world play out here?
Well, Putin so far, I've been saying this for 3 years. I think he's losing this war. As measured against what he wanted to originally do, which was seize Kyiv. The longer this goes on, it seems that Ukraine is actually fighting an effective war of attrition. Wrap the thing up in Iran quickly, send as much kit and equipment over to Ukraine as possible, and they can win this war. They can push Putin out of Europe. Okay, so we're fighting the Russians in Ukraine rather than Poland. We're fighting Iranian terror agents in the Middle East rather than in Europe. That's a good thing, albeit President Zelenskiy has said that the munitions that he needed were moved to Iran. So I concede to you that in the short term, it's not good for Kyiv.
What kind of role does Europe play? the UK, France, the rest of the continent?
NATO?
Well, it seems like the entire purpose of the two world wars was for France and Germany to realize they can't actually beat each other, right? And so now they're belatedly also realizing that they need to rearm. And the long-term security threat was indeed what the Kaiser said it was, which was Russia, which is a bit of a head spinner. So they need to hurry up and rearm. The Bundeswehr needs to get its act together. The British and the French need to integrate as much as possible back into Europe. I would say that the UK really needs to rejoin the EU. I mean, that's pretty obvious now if you look at it on the face of things. And stand as a bulwark against Russian aggression. They are on a decade-long path of conquest.
I can see Germany doing it. I can see the UK stepping up. Can we bank on France, Spain, Italy?
Bro, France saved the world in 1914-15 and at Verdun in 1916. France, thanks to Charles de Gaulle, has nukes. I think they're the only nukes that you can actually play with by yourself without the Americans watching or giving you permission. So as an Englishman, I'm being very nice to the French right now, which they probably don't want to hear after Brexit. But we need France. France is a serious military power.